Welcome back to the deep dive. This week, we are plunging into what looks like a really high voltage, energetic forecast. We're covering October 20th through the 26th, 2025.
Yeah, it's definitely got some charge to it.
And we're drawing on the sources you provided, Astrologie Vérité et Transformation, and also the StoryScope of the week from Tarot by High C.
Good stuff there.
The core mission, it seems, for this week is pretty clear, but, well, maybe not easy. Reclaim your power by finally facing whatever it is you've been avoiding.
That avoidance period. It's fundamentally over now. The air this week feels charged, you know? We're talking fiery words, potentially, motives coming out into the open.
A reality check, maybe?
Definitely a reality check. And the sources say it'll probably sting first before it actually starts to heal. The whole theme for these 7 days is transformation, but specifically through, like, radical honesty and accountability.
Okay, so intense.
Intense, yeah, but one source really nails it. Intensity isn't chaos when we direct it consciously, and that conscious direction, that's the whole game this week.
That's a great distinction. Intensity versus chaos.
Yeah.
It really taps into that feeling maybe you have like you're living halfway through a sentence waiting to be finished.
Exactly.
So if we look at the week's blueprint, there are these two huge forces, right? Almost opposing each other.
Yeah, driving the tension.
You've got the sharp, maybe unsaid truth just boiling up. That's Mars and Mercury going deep into Scorpio.
Right, that investigative, cutting energy.
But then you also have this need for balance, for equilibrium, coming from the new moon in Libra.
It's like the universe gives you the fire.
And the extinguisher.
And the extinguisher, yeah, basically at the same time. And the key insight here is you're not actually searching for some hidden secret truth.
Okay.
The truth is already out. It's probably staring you in the face. The real work is just recognizing it and, maybe harder, stopping the effort you're putting into not seeing it.
So recognition is the start of the deep dive.
That's where it begins, yeah.
All right, let's start with Monday then. The week kicks off with a bang. Mercury conjunct Mars in Scorpio. That doesn't sound subtle at all.
No, subtle is not the word. Think mental turbocharger. It translates into this profound focus and motivation. Really good energy for those hard tasks we've put off.
Like what kind of tasks?
Well, deep investigative work, maybe complex strategy sessions that need real precision, or even like editing a difficult piece of writing. It's a chance to really revolutionize how you think and express tricky ideas.
The sources really emphasize the power of words here, calling them sharp, like a verbal edge. Should we expect blunt conversations?
Expect them, yes, and maybe some uncomfortable truths coming out, but this is where that conscious direction comes in again.
Right. Don't just lash out.
Exactly. If you feel tempted to use that sharpness just to wound someone or, settle an old score, pull back, people remember unnecessary venom. If a truth needs saying, deliver it with intention, like a surgeon, not with malice.
Got it. Precision, not poison.
Nicely put. And what's really interesting here, the Scorpio conjunction, it's just phase 1.
Ah.
Yeah. Pay attention to the themes and events this week because they're setting up a longer story. This repeats November 12th in Sagittarius and then again January 17th in Capricorn. This week is foundational.
Okay, good heads up. So after Monday's necessary fire, the universe gives us a bit of a breather. Tuesday brings the new moon in Libra.
Yeah, it's like the required salve after the explosion. It demands equilibrium. It's that conscious moment to pause, take a deep breath, maybe reset the social contract a bit.
Finding harmony, but maybe not through just giving in.
Exactly. The Sabian symbol for this moon is interesting. It talks about humanity's vast and enduring effort for knowledge. It implies real peace comes from committing to these social processes. Fairness, debate, seeking a truth bigger than our own biases.
But I see the sources pointing out a kind of contradiction here.
Yeah.
That achieving peace might need a little bit of rebellion.
That's the twist, isn't it? Libra energy mixed with all this week's intensity. Peace doesn't always mean saying yes. It might mean embracing the power of a firm no, setting real boundaries.
And accepting you might disappoint people.
You might, especially people used to you just going along. It's about letting go of old rules or beliefs, those dogmas that kept you small, so you can actually find a higher, more independent viewpoint.
Okay. And speaking of tension, this new moon isn't happening in isolation. It hits right into a Grand Cross configuration. For those of us not up on our celestial geometry, what does a Grand Cross feel like? Is it like being pulled in 4 directions?
That's a perfect way to put it, a 4-way tug of war, and the tension is huge. Specifically, you've got the new moon squaring Jupiter. That can bring out exaggeration, maybe self-righteousness.
Okay.
Then you have Chiron, opposite Eris. Chiron's our deep wound, right? And Eris is the chaotic disruptor, the bringer of uncomfortable truths about discord.
So that makes you acutely aware of injustice. Hard to ignore things like bullying or egotism.
Impossible to ignore. It brings it right to the surface. And then the new moon also squares Pluto. That stirs up all the deep power struggles and secrets.
Wow. So your desire for Libran peace and equilibrium is being seriously tested by all this friction.
You really can't ignore the imbalance when you've got 4 major cosmic players basically yelling about it.
All right, moving into midweek. The vibe shifts again when the sun enters Scorpio on Wednesday, October 22nd. This sounds like where things get really deep. The sources call it liberation through truth.
Yeah, superficial just won't cut it anymore. That avoidance we talked about, it has to be replaced by rigorous, honest investigation, looking within.
And asking tough questions.
The key question Scorpio asks is the control you're holding on to real confidence? Or is it just like really well-disguised fear, psychological armor?
How do you tell the difference?
Pay attention to tone, not just the words people use, but the way they say them, the small choices. That's what reveals the hidden motives, the unconscious stuff.
And the shadow side of this is that need for control, turning into jealousy, maybe manipulation, vindictiveness, all that deep, messy stuff.
Exactly. That's the risk if the energy isn't handled consciously. And on the same day, October 22nd, we also get Neptune turning retrograde in Pisces.
Okay, another shift. What's that about?
It's subtler but significant. After all the sharpness and the depth, this is kind of a cue to turn inward in a different way. Time for magic, creativity, spirituality again. But
There's always a but.
there's always a but. The goal here is clarification, not just escapism.
So it's a reflection period, like looking back at old dreams, old ideals, and seeing if they still fit, if they're still worth carrying.
Precisely. The danger, the sources warn, is if you mismanage this, you could slide into feeling resigned or futile. Like, what's the point?
Apathy.
Okay, so if you feel that panic or that why bother feeling creeping in? Recognize it. That's Neptune asking you to pull back your projections, to get real about your spiritual path. The sources say that panic should pass, describing the energy as more regressive than destructive. It's really an opportunity to align your genuine spiritual insights with your actual creative life, rather than just letting them float off into pure fantasy.
Got it. Make it real. Then Thursday hits with a really big one, a long-lasting aspect. Jupiter square Chiron retrograde, framed as a fresh path for healing, especially around self-worth.
Yes, and what's really key here is that the tension itself is the catalyst for healing.
How so?
Well, you have Jupiter, representing that powerful urge to grow, expand, believe. And it's squaring Chiron, representing our old wounds or vulnerabilities, maybe where we feel inadequate. That friction between the desire for more and the memory of hurt, that's what fuels the transformation.
So it pushes you to challenge old beliefs, maybe things you inherited about success or what you deserve.
Exactly. Especially beliefs that are maybe holding you back today. It's about stopping that cycle of measuring yourself against some impossible standard of perfection.
And this isn't just a one-off transit, is it?
No, absolutely not. This is major. It's the first of a 3-part series. The next hits are December 21st, 2025, and then July 1st, 2026.
So a long-term healing process.
Definitely. The sources really stress this because this specific alignment, it won't happen again until 2033.
Wow. 13 years.
So the message is clear. This healing moment, it requires real commitment now. Treat it seriously.
Okay, noted. This is a rarer window. All right, let's brace for Friday. Peak intensity, Sun square Pluto. The advice is often face what's draining your power. But isn't this exact aspect the time when we're most tempted to hide those issues or get into control games?
It absolutely is. That's the paradox.
So how does the intensity actually force the issue?
It forces it because the power dynamics they explode. You can't pretend anymore. The crisis hits. It's a day for really intensified emotions. Trust issues flare up, leading to power plays.
Like individuals versus institutions. Or truth tellers feeling pressured by the team.
Could be any of those. The big warning here is, don't lose yourself just for some external reward or approval that might not even materialize anyway.
So the goal is to spot where your own ego is trying to cling on, trying to manipulate things.
Precisely. That's the hidden opportunity beneath all that tension. Recognizing where your ego is actually blocking the progress that's already trying to happen. Real empowerment, genuine power, comes from aligning with these deeper forces of change, not from trying to coerce or force an outcome.
So the pressure cooker moment of Sun square Pluto forces you to finally look at what's been draining you, maybe old emotional contracts, fear-based alliances you've outgrown.
Yes. What you've been performing out of fear, it has to go.
Okay, thankfully Friday isn't all pressure. There's also Mercury trine Jupiter. A bit of relief.
A significant bit of relief, yes. It's a positive counternote. Ideas can really take flight. You can find brilliant solutions. Conversations can become really collaborative and expansive. So the day has huge transformative potential, not just destructive.
Good to know there's an upside. And then the week wraps up on Saturday with Mercury trine Saturn. Sounds grounding.
Deeply grounding. Finally, some clarity, some structure, perspective. Those messy, blunt conversations from earlier in the week, now they can actually find sensible, realistic conclusions.
This is the time to make things concrete.
Absolutely. Make those hard-won insights tangible. Mature thinking really benefits long-term plans now. Contracts, setting clear boundaries. The practical advice is pretty straightforward. Sign the deal if it feels right. Schedule that therapy appointment you've been thinking about. Formalize the new boundaries. Turn all that emotional growth into applied, structured wisdom.
Okay, that's a really helpful arc through the week. To tie it all together, let's bring in the StoryScope of the week. It features Amara in a story called When the Wind Remembered Her Name.
Yeah, Amara's story is such a perfect metaphor for this whole week's journey. For years, the story goes, she'd swallowed her words, truths she needed to speak, griefs she hadn't processed, boundaries she never set.
And they burned her throat.
They burn. And these unspoken things, they gathered inside her, under her ribs, until they formed this small, pulsing star, which eventually just had to rupture. It burst into light.
That rupture sounds like the Mercury-Mars conjunction on Monday, that explosive honesty.
Exactly. That's the astrological parallel. And after the rupture, she had to face these ghosts of her former selves.
The one always apologizing.
Yeah.
The one clinging to validation from others.
Yeah, those outdated versions. And while the world around her was churning with all these truths and lies crashing together, kind of like that Grand Cross energy, she had this profound realization.
That was.
Her big insight is really the key to navigating this week. She understood that peace wasn't the absence of intensity, it was the choice to wield it.
Ah, back to conscious direction.
Precisely. She chose to direct her fire. She moved the storm within her from chaos into alignment. She stopped avoiding the difficult truth inside.
And the story ends with her smiling. Not because everything was perfect.
No, not fixed or neat, but because nothing was hidden anymore. The truth, the source says, has teeth, sure, but once you finally release it, it also gives you wings.
Wow. Powerful image. So, bringing this back to you, the listener, what does this all mean? By the end of this week, after this deep dive, you should hopefully feel like you shed something that maybe you felt impossible to let go of before a fear, an old commitment, that compliant persona.
Yeah, what's left should feel raw, maybe, but real, and ready for real responsibility.
We started the week with that necessary, maybe uncomfortable confrontation, navigated that huge tension around injustice and power with the Grand Cross and Pluto squares, and now we end with the clarity, that Mercury-Saturn trine, to actually build structures around the boundaries we fought for.
And if we zoom out just a bit, remember that Jupiter square Chiron healing cycle that kicked off on Thursday, how rare it is?
Right, not happening again until 2033.
Exactly. Which brings us to maybe the final thought to leave you with. Since this particular kind of intense healing friction is so rare, what specific measurable steps linked to your self-worth, linked to maybe those old confining beliefs you're willing to commit to right now? What will ensure that the transformation you've hopefully started this week actually lasts?